For more than a decade, Formula One quietly trained its drivers to overtake in a very specific, almost mechanical way. Stay within 1 second. Hit the detection point, press the button, open the wing, complete the move before the braking zone even becomes a factor. It worked, and in fairness, it solved a real problem. But over time, it also removed something fundamental from racing: consequence. The outcome of an overtake was often decided before the driver had to make a meaningful choice. By 2026, that entire logic disappears, and with it, a huge part of how modern F1 drivers have been conditioned to race. What Formula One is introducing is not a direct replacement for DRS, despite how often that comparison is made. That framing actually misses the point entirely. This is not about recreating the same effect with a different tool. It is about redefining how advantage is created in the first place. Overtaking is no longer an aerodynamic shortcut triggered by proximity. It is an energy decision, and energy decisions by their very nature come with trade-offs, consequences, and risk. The first thing that needs to be understood is just how radically the 2026 cars are built around electrical power. This is not a marginal hybrid assist anymore. The ERS-K alone can deliver up to 350 kW, which translates to roughly 470 horsepower. In practical terms, around half of the car's performance potential is no longer coming from combustion, aerodynamics, or mechanical grip. It is coming from software-controlled electrical deployment that fundamentally changes how performance is accessed and how it must be managed under standard racing conditions. This electrical power is heavily restricted by speed-dependent rules, below roughly 290 km per hour. The system allows relatively generous deployment. The car accelerates hard, energy flows freely, and performance feels strong. But once that threshold is crossed, the rules deliberately begin to pull power away. This is where many misunderstand the intent of the regulations. The objective is not to punish speed. It is to flatten performance at the top end and prevent runaway acceleration that would make racing unsafe and one-dimensional. Using the standard deployment curve, a car traveling at 338 km per hour can deploy around 110 kW of electrical power. Increase speed by just 1 km per hour and that figure drops again. At 340 km per hour, deployment is capped at 100 kW. From that point onward, the reduction becomes aggressive by 345 km per hour. Electrical deployment must reach zero. At that moment, the car is effectively relying purely on the internal combustion engine, regardless of how much energy is left in the battery. The logic here is brutal but deliberate. In standard mode, the faster you go, the less help you receive. Sounds counterintuitive, but it forces teams to prioritize efficiency over raw power. A car that is draggy, unstable, or poorly balanced will simply hit a ceiling sooner and sit there. Speed becomes something you must earn through overall design quality, not just electrical deployment. This is where Overtake Mode changes the picture without breaking the philosophy. Overtake Mode does not remove the speed-based logic, it bends it. When activated, the attacking car switches to a completely different electrical deployment curve. At the same 338 km per hour, where the defending car is limited to roughly 110 kW, the attacking car can deploy up to 340 kW. That is more than triple the electrical power at identical speed, identical drag, and identical track conditions. And the difference does not end there. Instead of tapering to zero at 345 km/h, Overtake Mode allows electrical deployment all the way up to 355 km per hour. That extra 10 km per hour of assisted acceleration may not sound dramatic on paper, but on track it is enormous. It extends the acceleration phase by a meaningful distance, not just a moment. This is not a gimmick. It is sustained performance. This is where the nature of overtaking changes completely. Under DRS, the advantage was binary, wing open or wing closed. Either you had it or you did not. Under Overtake Mode, the advantage is conditional. It builds progressively. It depends on preparation, and crucially it can be misused. That last point is where consequence returns. Energy is finite. The maximum energy that can be harvested per lap is capped at 8.5 megajoule with an additional 0.5 megajoule permitted for drivers using Overtake Mode. That sounds like a lot until you realize how quickly it disappears when deployment is aggressive. Every joule spent attacking is a joule not available later in the lap, or even on the next lap if harvesting opportunities are compromised. This transforms overtaking from a reflex into a calculation. Drivers must decide not only whether they can pass, but whether they should use energy now or save it, attack here or prepare for somewhere else, commit early and risk running out of deployment before the braking zone, or wait and risk losing momentum. Harvesting energy itself is no longer a background process. It is a performance differentiator. Energy is primarily recovered under braking, which means braking stability suddenly becomes a central overtaking factor. A car that struggles with rear locking, brake-by-wire inconsistency, or unstable weight transfer will simply harvest less energy per lap. Less energy means fewer attacking opportunities, regardless of engine power. This is why areas that used to be set up fine-tuning exercises now become critical weapons. Rear suspension behavior, brake cooling, pedal feel, and even driver confidence under heavy braking directly influence how often a car can attack. In 2026, the ability to overtake may depend more on how calm a car is at 300 km/h into a braking zone than how fast it is on the straight itself. And yes, this will produce some counterintuitive visuals. Some cars will look extremely fast in clean air, yet struggle to pass. Others may look slower overall, but become surprisingly effective in battles because they recharge efficiently and deploy intelligently. A car that burns all its energy in one dramatic attempt may become completely defenseless on the next lap. Expect to see aborted overtakes, resets, and drivers backing out deliberately. That is not failure, that is intelligence. Defense, meanwhile, becomes active again. A defending driver can manipulate positioning to influence when the attacker deploys Overtake Mode. Force them to commit early on corner exit, and they may run out of electrical assistance before the braking zone. Suddenly, the attacker is vulnerable. Tires overheated, battery depleted, and momentum gone. The dynamic flips. This reintroduces something Formula One has largely lost in the DRS era: multi-lap battles. Overtakes will not always happen in one straight. Some will be built over 2 or 3 laps with feints, positioning, and energy traps. Racecraft returns as a layered process, not a single event. The FIA's role in all of this becomes far more involved. Action gaps are no longer fixed at 1 second. They can be adjusted per circuit. Activation zones can be repositioned. Maximum ERS output can be modified for safety reasons. This means teams cannot rely on universal assumptions. Every weekend becomes a bespoke puzzle. That unpredictability is not a flaw. It is intentional. The FIA wants to prevent teams from solving the system once and exploiting it everywhere. Adaptability becomes the true competitive advantage. Qualifying is also transformed because Overtake Mode is available in qualifying. Teams must decide how aggressively to deploy energy on a single lap versus preserving it for multiple attempts. Battery state could decide grid positions at tight circuits. Expect confusion, radio panic, and at least one driver asking why the car suddenly feels empty halfway down a straight. That is part of the learning curve. There's a delicious irony here. Formula One removed DRS in the name of more natural racing and replaced it with one of the most mathematically complex systems the sport has ever seen. But the difference is philosophical. This system rewards thinking, not proximity. It rewards planning, not buttons. Drivers who excel under these rules will be those who understand rhythm, who know when not to attack, who are patient enough to wait for the correct deployment window. Drivers who relied heavily on late braking heroics combined with DRS assistance may suddenly look exposed. And yes, early on it will be messy. Drivers will misjudge energy, teams will get deployment maps wrong. Someone will inevitably run out of battery halfway down a straight and look like they've hit an old-school rev limiter from the late 90s. That is fine, that is evolution. From my point of view, this is a healthier direction for Formula One. DRS solved a problem, but it also created a habit. Overtake mode removes certainty and reintroduces consequence. You can still pass, but you must earn it. And if you get it wrong, you pay for it. What is really changing in 2026 is not the mechanism, it is the mindset. Overtaking becomes a process again, not an outcome. Battles stretch across laps. Drivers think further ahead. Engineers influence racecraft more than ever. If this system is calibrated correctly, Formula One will not just have more overtakes, it will have better ones, less predictable, more human, more flawed, and far more interesting to watch. And if nothing else, at least drivers will have to work for it again, which honestly is exactly how it should be.